Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? It's a Monday night. We decided, hey, let's compete with Monday Night Football. That ought to be fun. That should help the live stream numbers. But hey, I was out of town all day Friday and Saturday. I got back Sunday. I was completely exhausted from running around all weekend. And Gordon had plans. And so, hey, keeping up with the mantra of being consistently inconsistent, we moved it to Monday night. But I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope you guys had a good day at work. If you were at work, I know some of the teachers here locally had the day off. But how are things going in Vegas, Gordon?
Fucking insane.
Sounds like it by that long, frustrated, highly annoyed breath you just took there.
Yeah. There's a bunch of crap that's been going on the strip since they've reopened in August.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we've got roaming gangs on rascal scooters.
Now, when you say rascal scooters, you're not talking about the cool, like, electric razor scooter styles that LA has out for free. You're talking like the ones that obese people whose knees and joints don't work that well that you see zipping through the grocery stores. That type of scooter?
Yeah, one that, people who can't walk very far rent. They're red. Mm-hmm. They're electric. Yeah, so evidently, it seems like there's a shooting once or twice a week down on the strip now.
Fun.
There's been fights. There's been these rental companies renting out to, and I think they've kind of shut it down since, but they've been renting out to like large groups of very young rascals, derelicts. And
so what you're saying is because of COVID and because businesses are shutting down and because a lot of people don't have jobs now to go and stay at nice places in Vegas, that all the casinos are kind of forced to lower their prices. And much like I once heard when I was on a Carnival cruise, the Carnival cruise is not the greatest cruise in the world because, well, the prices are low. Thus you get people who tend to not enjoy or have decorum in the cruise life you would see on a Royal Caribbean or an Ocean Princess or a Viking line.
That seems to be what it is. We're not getting the straight answer though. Metro seems to think it's people from out of state, i.e. just straight to the left of us. I'm sorry, let me go to the left of us. And they have lowered the prices, but these kids, they're renting these scooters and they're starting fights, like huge pummelings of people. So you got to be wary of that. There's been shootings.
So they're renting the scooters because they want to do it for fun or because they physically can't walk? When you said you're a lot of people riding scooters, I assumed it was just like a bunch of fat people from the Midwest who couldn't walk who are renting them. That's not the case? I'm talking
young, athletic type people who have no need to rent a scooter. Yeah. I think they just think it's cool. I'm sure the rates were cheap on that.
I just can't imagine. I can walk faster than those things can travel.
Exactly. There was a shooting last night. There's there's 3 shootings in the Valley yesterday. Metro has reported, I believe in August, they had recovered on the strip 63 illegal firearms.
Fantastic.
So, those of us who are illegal think, there's 2 ways to look at it, right? Well, if you get rid of them all, then, that's never going to happen.
No.
But it gives more cause to people who follow the 2A to do it right and protect themselves. It's just weird crap going on down there. Just not the best image we want to portray. We want people to come back. So, yeah, we got that. And
well, I mean, to put it in terms that everybody can understand, back in the 70s and 80s, Times Square was known as like the horrible place to go. If you want to go get mugged, you want to go do some derelict stuff or do some shady shit, you'd go down to Times Square, at least at night. And then obviously once Giuliani took over and they cleaned up New York, now the longtime New Yorkers who live there who like to have some bravado and machismo talk about, I miss the old Times Square, now it's all Disneyland.
Dude, we hear the same
good.
thing.
Disneyland's good for property value and good for safety and everything else.
Seriously, we hear the same thing. This town, here's the calling card of people who've been here for a very long time, or especially the natives. This town was a much better town when the mob ran it.
Yeah, I could see that as long as you weren't the one being drug out to the desert for not paying your tab when the mob ran it.
Exactly. And then, you've also got the other view is, well, the mob still runs it. They're just corporations now.
Yeah, Martin said on the Facebook live stream that he hasn't watched any football this year. And, I saw somebody post on their Facebook, I'm not watching NFL. I bet you can't post this. And I replied, well, I can post it because not only have I not watched NFL now, I've never watched. I mean, it's probably been 3 or 4 years that I've seen a full game, and that's when I'm at somebody else's house. It was just never my bag. So I'm not one of these people not watching because of the politics involved. It was just never my thing. We never got into it.
Yeah, and Martin's also asking, how do they get anywhere on the Strip? I was there with the baby stroller and the damn up and down over the cross. Worked in finding a working elevator. Well, there's about half the people out there now.
I was going to say,
and actually, there are
TikTok
down. Videos showing a dude riding one of them stupid scooters up and down. I think he did end up eating shit somewhere along the lines.
That's great. So you've switched over
no.
to the dark side. For those who watching home, I had replaced the huge monitor Gordon used to be on, and it used to be right behind the camera, so my eye line would look like I'm looking at you. I wasn't thinking when I mounted the new TV, so I mounted up high. So if I want to look at Gordon while he's talking to me, now my eye line looks up. So now I want to look at you guys. So now I'm just staring past the camera at my 2 Coke coolers. I don't know. I'm probably going to have to lower the TV for next week. But yeah, so if you see me staring up, it's because I'm actually looking at the monitor, trying to look at Gordon while he's talking to me. But yeah, the old TV, a little behind the scenes, if you will. The TV that used to be over here, the huge monitor, was given to me by a client because it would take 15 minutes to warm up. Well, over the last 6 months, it went from 15 minutes to an hour and a half. And during that warm-up process, it would make these loud, god-awful noises as if it was a TV that was used in the movie Poltergeist. And so I would have to come here an hour early and turn it on.
Talking about the one that would just kick on randomly in the
and it would just
night.
kick on, make static, make these high-pitched screaming sounds. And so finally I said, the hell with it. I can get a TV at Walmart for $80, so I'm going to go scrap that big-ass one. And plus, that thing was, old, and it would, heat up the whole damn podcast. Dave and I would sit here and sweat our asses off once that thing was on for a good hour. So we're moving on past that. But so if you see my eye line looking up this week, it's because I'm looking up at the monitor. I need to bring it down about, 4 feet. It's
funny because actually on my end of Zoom, it looks like you're looking at my little box above you.
Yep.
But but yeah, so that's some of what's going on. I think they're going to be opening up some more stuff here, following suit similar to the way the state of Florida has. And otherwise, man, it's been dry. We are at record, probably close to 160 days with no measurable rain. Can you imagine that?
If you guys are living in a different state, give us a call at 239-232-4419. I hope that's the right number because I'm looking up on the monitor and looking across the room. That's 239-232-4419. The reason I want to talk to you is because to me, it's still so weird. Gordon said, well, we're kind of like Florida. We're going to open up. We have been opened up for so long that I often forget that we are opened up, because to live with COVID-19 in the state of Florida is basically the inconvenience of wearing a mask and the inconvenience that Walmart, Steak and Shake, and Taco Bell are no longer open 24 hours. They close at 11, as if they're actually going to clean during those extra hours, or they're not open. So that's the biggest difference for me as far as what's going on. And so it blows my mind when I hear people who are still, out without the having access to do things.
And to be fair, we're pretty much, that's kind of the way it feels to me, but it's talking about getting assemblies together at sporting events. Maybe some of these shows can get up and running again. They just opened the bars a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago. And so it's getting a little more normal. As you said, you still got to wear the mask. Although there's more and more noses hanging out.
I'm seeing that a lot more now. I don't get that. I mean,
it's a nose-to-nose thing.
You know what I wonder? I'm wondering if those are the people who have stank breath that they can't handle.
Oh.
They've taken the nose
You know
out of their
what?
mouth because these are the people who never realize how bad. Because remember when this whole thing started, we said, well, maybe the upside will be that the people who walk around with shit breath all day will finally start to realize that the breath stink and do something about it. I wonder if these nose flares people, or these are the people who have shit breath, and they're finally starting to realize it. Instead of going to the dentist, they're just pulling their mask down.
Yeah, it's what's that old World War II symbol? Something was
Kilroy.
Kilroy. So everybody's going all Kilroy with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right because I've been foisted by my own petard with having something really oniony like a sub, and just being about knocked out when I've had to go out on job walks with a mask on or out in public. Even this weekend, and I brushed my teeth. I was like, what fucking stinks? What stinks? I was like, oh man, maybe did I get some breakfast on my facial hair? What's going on? Now I got to do a full face wash, which I probably should anyway after I eat before I go out.
Yeah, right.
But speaking of eating, one of the things I was thinking of this weekend is, as a broke-ass young adult,
Yep.
what was a common food that you ate that was cheap as shit?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when Junior Bacon cheeseburgers were 99 cents. In Ohio, they didn't have tax on food. They only had tax on drinks. And crazily enough, if you go to Wendy's now and get a medium drink, that was the size of what they used to call their biggie. Right. And so that was like their beyond large, but now that's the medium. And
so now is a biggie a great biggie?
Well, when that transition kind of happened, back when that movie Super Size Me came out, McDonald's got their assets handed to them because everybody started blaming them for being the reason everybody's fat. And they used to have a drink that was larger than the Wendy's Biggie. And so McDonald's shrank their large back down to a relatively responsible size. And so Wendy's decided to take the ball and run with it. And that's when they made a large drink that was larger than the medium is now. And so for me, I don't know, back then it was a lot of Junior Bacon cheeseburgers. Actually, no, that was when I had some money in my pocket.
Yeah, I'm talking about when you didn't have money and you
back
needed to
then,
eat.
that's when Taco Bell tacos were like 38 cents a piece. And so I would eat a lot of those.
Mine was ramen noodles.
Oh, okay.
But not just your standard ramen noodles. I had to dress it up a little because the standard one sucked. So when I lived in, say, that apartment on campus above the Ethiopian restaurant, so everything smelled like curry. I'd get the old ramen noodles going. I always had a little bit of milk, put a little milk in it, put a little bit of margarine because I couldn't afford butter, and use the seasoning packet and melted cheese. And if I had a little onion, I'd do it. If I had a little leftover chicken, I'd toss it in there. And that meal has basically, now that I've got, a couple of shekels to rub together, has it turned into Katina's favorite.
See, I'm the other way around. There's things like that because we all went down the ramen noodle road. There's things like that I don't even want to eat anymore. I got a whole case of it in my refrigerator. The closet that the kid eats. Very rarely will I eat it. I'll eat it if I get a wild hair at my ass. Another thing is Pop-Tarts. I haven't had a Pop-Tart since Hurricane Irma. I used to eat them all the time at the radio station. We'd get them here for fun. But when you don't have power and water for 18 days and you're eating Pop-Tarts as a source of food to stretch out your main staples longer, I almost get PTSD from the idea of eating a Pop-Tart now. So I haven't even touched a Pop-Tart since then. That's been, almost 3 years ago.
Yeah. And I was having a conversation with her mom about this.
Oh, yeah?
And she said, well, what you may not remember
Spam.
is, when the family split and she didn't quite have any money yet, it seemed like almost several days a week, our cheap go-to dinner was pancakes and bacon.
Yep. And on our dad's side, it was pigs in the blanket and shake and bake chicken.
Ugh.
I cannot eat shake and bake chicken.
I still can't eat that garbage.
Shake and bake chicken. If you guys are trying to call, you gotta apologize. I launched a software and it's asked me to type in the password. And the reason I'm so rudely looking at my phone is I'm trying to get to my email to see if they sent me my password reset link. And of course, all this stuff happens live, so that's why I'm kind of looking at my phone. It's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm trying to multitask because once again, we don't have a producer. And so chances are I asked you guys to call. I launched the software. It's asking me for my password. It didn't work, so I'm trying to reset it. But yeah. Pigs in the blanket is something I can't eat. steak, shake. I always want to say steak and shake, but shake and bake chicken. It's shake and bake, and
Oh.
I helped.
Yeah, I can't do shake and bake chicken either. And pigs in the blanket. Now, the only way you can do it, and I haven't tried it yet, and I don't want to start a new bad habit in the house,
Mm-hmm.
is the way one of our stepdads would cook it would be in a croissant instead of a biscuit.
Interesting. Okay.
So I remember that. That was great. Yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day, and it probably was when I did my first ever vlog. Probably came out quite horrible, but hey, I gave it a try anyway. I put myself out there trying to make myself a little more comfortable. And if
You know,
anybody watched it
I
on
think-
Analog 410,
Yeah, if we constantly ask people to check out the Digital 410 page. We also have a secondary page, which is going to be more of our firearm stuff and the stuff that would get you kind of get your PP slapped by YouTube for having certain content, and so that's where that's going to go. And so if you head over to our website, look for the Analog 410, you can find Gordon's blog. It's funny you say that because I think a lot of people don't realize that talking to a camera by yourself when no one else is in the room, it's not as easy as it looks. It takes quite a while to get comfortable and not come off looking like you're stilted and embarrassed talking to that camera.
I think I see why a lot of people do it from their car for a couple of reasons. And I did do it from the car because, number one, it's just you in there and you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not focused on just staring at the camera. Number two, that's the only time you've got frickin' time. Is when you're awake because everybody demands your attention, or you got work or something's going on, and it's the only time you can break away. So I literally woke up Saturday, and the way the vlog went, you could tell. I sounded drunk, but I wasn't. I had just woken up, and then things kind of went wrong along the ways, And in that vlog, I talked about, and this would be probably something we'll talk about on the OG5 podcast. I'd like to get D-Train to check it out, is Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma.
Yeah, that's on my short list to check out. But before we get into the social dilemma, I think one of the reasons it's easier to do the vlog from within your car is because that's kind of a position we're all naturally used to talking in. If your spouse, your kids, or whatever, your friends, you've been driving since you're 16, you've always had somebody in the passenger seat. And more often than not, unless you're one of those people who insist on making eye contact or driving like this, which I don't get because that's dangerous as hell, we're all used to looking down the road while we're maintaining a conversation with the person in the passenger seat. And so if you can get yourself to the point where you disconnect yourself with the fact that there's no one in the passenger seat and you're just a little crazy talking to yourself, and by mounting the camera, somewhat in front of you, then it's easier to do. And before I started doing a lot of my YouTube stuff, I would just do a lot of live streams on my Facebook page. And
Yes.
every once in a while, I'll get one of those Karens or the Steves or whatever. It's not safe to drive while you're doing a video. It's like, once again, if you look, I'm looking past my camera. I'm not once again, looking over here at the passenger seat. It's no different than talking to someone in the passenger seat or talking to your kid.
You clearly see that I'm checking my blind spot.
Yeah, I mean, you see it all the
Where I'm
time.
going.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And once
So-
again, we come from a generation where poor people had standards. We all used to smoke and drink.
Okay, drinking, yes. Go ahead.
And so we all knew how to eat, drink, drive, and shift to 6-speed all at the same time. Yet you young cats can't drive an automatic and text without killing yourself.
And
so.
we didn't have a nice big cup holder for that great biggie drink, so you're trying to balance that between you.
No, we had the little plastic basket on the hook that you'd stick in your window next to your crank window.
But not nearly the size big enough for that Wendy's.
So not only were we eating, drinking, and smoking, but we're also cranking down the window or doing that thing where you tilt it and to let the cigarette smoke out all at the same time.
Then you're fucking with the volume because, we all listened to it way too loud, and anybody tried to talk, you had to turn it down.
And in the case of Gordon and I, who drove the same Chevy S10, we didn't have power steering, so it's
Nor
not like
air
you
conditioning.
it's not like you can turn. You're looking through your CD case, you're eating, you're drinking, you're shifting, you're fighting the non-power steering wheel, and so we all became quite. And for some of you out there, learn how to steer a car proficiently from the passenger seat, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I've done a. It's not. It's gonna. I'm
Go
gonna say
ahead,
high
Frank.
speed.
I got you.
I'm gonna say a high
Roll
speed.
the window up. The light will go out.
I'm gonna say. So on my way to Montana, we were traveling in a Volkswagen bus, microbus, 70 something. I would say that we did a high speed seat change, but it is a microbus. It was going
That was
downhill.
55 mile an hour up
We were
downhill
hitting 65
with the wind.
This is in eastern Montana. No, there's crosswinds, so that's like as aerodynamic as a loaf of bread. And the driver said, "Hey, you want to drive?" I'm like, "Sure." He goes, "Okay, let's switch." I'm like,
Put it
"Oh, no,
neutral.
whatever." Nope. No, didn't even put it in neutral. We just did it, and that was fun. I don't know how I'm still alive. One of many, many stories.
Morgan said, "I'm glad it wasn't. You don't shoot those in the shower because that's the only place he gets peace." There's actually a guy on TikTok named Bar None. He's actually hilarious, and a lot of people accuse him for trying to be Ryan Reynolds, but he often shoots TikToks in the shower, so it happens all places. But no, it's interesting you bring up the car stuff. For some reason, I was in Vero Beach this week, and we'll get that momentarily. But I don't know how we got into the topic. But when I know. I met a guy who grew up in Cleveland. We were talking about all the different places we would go skiing and snowboarding throughout Ohio. And
Let me guess, he went to Mount Mansfield.
No, he was up in Cleveland. He went to a couple places and oftentimes went over to Pennsylvania and New York. But I was talking about the time, and I think Nick might still be in here. I sprained my wrist snowboarding. I skateboarded for all those years. I snowboarded for all those years. I never broke a bone. But Nick and I we weren't at Mansfield. We were actually at Clear Fork, I think. It was one of the few times we ever went to Clear Fork. And I fell and I busted my wrist pretty good. It was my right wrist. And back to the Chevy S10 we're talking about. Trying to shift that 5-speed with a sprained wrist was a pain in the ass. And so Nick actually had to shift it with his left hand from the passenger seat. Luckily, most of it was interstate driving. But yeah, I do remember driving all the way back. And I think we had somebody I think we had another driver in the car sitting in the middle too. And so the person sitting next to me, and then Nick's reaching over and shifting the gears for us. It was pretty shitty, but that was a long drive home. Oh, and we got pulled over.
Oh, great!
And Nick and my passenger got tickets for not having seatbelts on. I didn't get the ticket as the driver, but they actually got $25 tickets for not having seatbelts on. Believe it or not,
I am good with that because as a driver, it's hard enough to be the Nelly to make you put on the fucking seatbelt.
Well, if you're
But
Morgan
now,
and Morgan from fuckthepeople.com, he says you should refuse to leave your driveway if your passengers don't put on your seat. Yeah, if they're 12, but if he's 16, that shit's on him, just like the cop says it's on him, and he got his own damn ticket and he had to pay the $25 or $30.
I had an ex-girlfriend, the one I moved down here with, and she refused to wear her seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
I had enough of it. I think I had enough of her at this point. And I popped the brakes before coming out of the parking lot. So fuck yeah, right off the goddamn dashboard. Did I feel bad? Yes, I don't like seeing people get hurt. But I knew it wouldn't be enough hurt that caused bodily injury. I was just trying to, hold her accountable for her decision. And yeah, she got out of the car. And
I just had a thought occur to me. I wonder if Generation Z and younger kids, if they're going to have the natural instinct of what happens, Gordon, when you slam on your brakes. What do you do to the passenger, even if they have their seatbelt on?
wham!
You always take your instinct of like, because you're so used to growing up in time where a lot of people either had lap belts only or they didn't wear a seatbelt. And so instinctively you throw that right leg arm up to try to restrain them from flying and hitting the dashboard. I wonder
if you have a wife or girlfriend, it's great for a quick.
Quick boot grab. Beep, beep. But I wonder if the young cats will have that instinctive skill set in their driving. Maybe when they become parents, but I don't know, because all these cars have such highfalutin, they all have great seatbelts. I don't know if people are going to have the need for that reflex.
The thing is now, if somebody's not wearing a seatbelt, the chime starts off low, but then it gets louder and louder and louder until it's unbearable.
Yep.
Falling asleep.
No, I'm reading Martin Marzik.
My story is that fucking boring.
No, Martin said the Taco Bell drive-thru in Grove City had one hell of an incline. I just learned to drive stick, and a friend had their new pop on their dashboard for about 2 seconds, and then they're wearing it. And that was one of the things you had to do in Kentucky and Ohio. If you drove a standard, if the driving instructor was a dick, they would make you find an incline that had a stop sign or a light on it. And I say a dick, but truthfully, it was a good move. they would make you take that route, and you would sit there, and if you rolled back more than like an inch, they would like fail you because you could potentially roll it back into the car behind you.
We have a family member that's so distracted when they drive, they shouldn't live in Kentucky because it's too fucking hilly. It's
Even
too
with an
fucking
automatic?
curvy.
I had
You know,
I had to take my driver's license in a Chrysler minivan.
I took mine in that S10 with no power steering and a stick shift.
Well, I couldn't take mine in that S10 with no power steering and a stick shift because it had just recently been recommandeered from you by my father. And at some point in your life, you decided, hey, you know what this S10 needs? A Camaro steering wheel. So you took out the factory steering wheel, you put in a Camaro steering wheel, and it didn't have a horn. And so I couldn't take the driver's test in my car. And after I got my license, then we installed the air horn in there, what people affectionately call the asshole horn now. So, but at the time, the car had no horn, so I had to take it in a fucking Chrysler minivan.
Hey, you know, when you're a kid
is
and
twice
you got
the
like
size
a
of the
stripped down
truck.
model truck,
And
you
for
have
you,
a bad idea.
and for you young cats, this isn't a truck that's the size of a Tacoma. S10s were tiny. These were like micro trucks almost. This was a
It
baseline
had traction
S10.
bars on it too, so I could really peel out.
Yep. No power steering. Broken
Nothing.
glove box hinge. Broken headlight switch.
Broken mirrors.
Camaro steering wheel. Some aftermarket
Hey,
mirrors.
had Krager wheels though.
Oh yeah, you had Krager wheels that were starting to rust out, but yeah, it was good to go. It was a good skate truck, but no, I couldn't. I had
I
to take
wrecked
in a goddamn
that
minivan.
truck like a day after I had those Kragers put.
Yeah, you're hard on that truck.
Well, yeah, called Gordon the Destroyer for many reasons.
That thing only had three clutches in it before it finally threw a fucking rod.
And then didn't it have a full recall on it?
I sold it to somebody for like $200, and I got a recall notice on it like 2 months later. I was like, well, that's fun. Good thing I got my 1984 Suzuki Somersault. Woo! 6'5".
Hey, you
right
did some
around that
funny
thing.
shit with that too, with contact paper.
Yeah. So I bought this. I bought this 1985,
Like a
89 Suzuki Somersault, and the thing had some nice rims on it because the guy who sold it to me, it used to be his daughter's. And somersaults were called somersaults because, much like the Geo Trackers that our stepsister rolled, they were top heavy and they were very skinny. And so if you took a turn hard enough, which, by the way, our friend Tim Stern tried to roll his all the time, couldn't even get up on two wheels, but that's another story for another time. Mine actually had wider tires and rims on it. So the tires and rims stuck out about 3 inches on each side, so now it wasn't top heavy. But the dashboard was ugly, so I went and I actually did this on the S10 too.
Dude, you look like you got contact paper that belonged in an old lady's bathroom.
No, that one, yes. The S10 looked nice. I did the S10 first with substitute black and white marble contact paper that you would use on shelves. And so when you looked in there, the entire dashboard looked
You
like
got
black
fucking
marble.
dashboard.
So when I got the Somersault, the door panels it had, because it was utilitarian, the door panels were nothing more than cardboard panels with fake Naugahyde on it that was all stretched out and torn up.
Some leatherette.
Yeah, so I popped those off, and I got like a green and brown version of that marble because the Somersault was a fluorescent, not a fluorescent, but a forest green. And so I did the door panels, and if you remember, I just remember this, I actually made the door pulls because those were gone. Back in the 90s, if you're cool, you knew how to make hemp necklaces. So
My God.
so I made the handles out of
You were
hemp.
hemped out from
I
head
had
to
I had
fucking
hemp door
toe.
pulls on there because they were broken because they were I think from the factory they're like vinyl and they were just like half a loop. You know, they just took a vinyl strap and put two screws in it and it was broken in half. So I made new ones out of hemp. So I had hemp door pulls and like his green.
Did you ever get pulled over in that thing?
Yeah, I got pulled over with my daughter and my dog. And I think my tags.
This is when Caitlin was just
well,
the wee thing, right?
Yeah, Kennison was, I don't know, I think 3 at the time. No, Kennison was like maybe 2. Katie was like maybe 2 or 3. And Kennison was like 1 or 2. But anyhow, I think my tags had just expired or something. Or I had no insurance because imagine that when you're poor, you can't afford insurance. But I remember the cop said, I'm going to let you go.
Poor guy's worst fucking nightmare is the rollers behind him.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is when you can't afford insurance for 16 years, it turns you into a stellar fucking driver. I never got in an
Yes, it
accident because
does.
I knew I couldn't afford to wreck my car. And as I got older, when I moved to Florida, I'd go to these little budget places. I would pay for insurance, and then the next month it would lapse, but they wouldn't cancel it for 30 days, so I can get like 60 days for 1 month, and they just renew me. So I'd have insurance for 1 month, no insurance, and then insurance for 1 month. But anyhow, I remember
I could drive like an asshole this month.
Yeah, exactly. I remember the cop tells me, "Hey, I'm going to let you go get this fixed because I don't want to have to arrest you, have children's services come get your kid, and I don't know what the fuck I would do with the dog." And so luckily, because I had my kid and my dog in the car, they let me go. So yeah, and that was in Grove City.
Oh yeah. So I got a question for you. So you went and played G.I. Joe this weekend, right?
Yeah, kind
I'm
of.
sorry,
I did
should say
Marine
that.
Corps, but yeah.
The question I was thinking is because I know like sleep, you can't really sit in the yards out there without getting eaten alive by fire ants.
That's a calculated risk, yes.
Is that a risk? Have you been eaten up on any of these excursions? Because I can imagine him like a cartoon marching up the leg of the cot.
Interestingly enough, this was at the Indian River Fairgrounds in Vero Beach, Florida. They have a big event every year. There's one coming up in December where they actually have they used to have people parachute in. They've had politicians come there, helicopter rides, and all that. But this weekend was just a gun show, and there's about 20 of us out there who set up our gear. It was just a living history event where we just display our goods and talk about it, and we do weapons demo. But there's a guy who's actually taller than me. His name's Chris. He will not come back to that particular facility because I guess about 3 years ago during the big reenactment, there's a pavilion and then it has like a grade, and then it goes into the field, and they had all the tents lined up, and I guess it rained so bad that the field started to flood, and they had issues. Basically, he had fire ants find the legs of his cot, which I was sleeping on the ground this weekend. But anyhow, long story short, he got so eaten up with fire ants at that particular place that he will never go back there. But no, I've been to a few events where the people running the show, where they kind of figure out where we're going to set up our stuff. They kind of go around preemptively, and there's some white powder that they put down on the ground. It kind of keeps them away. I've just been lucky. I've never really, obviously, if I visually see an ant mound, I won't set my tent up there. But I've yet to, I've been bitten by one or two, but I've luckily haven't put my tent down on top of any place that's a high traffic area. Now, for some of you saying, well, what if you did? Not a big deal. No. My tent is 2 pieces of canvas that are buttoned together. Mine's an original, 1942.
Yeah, there ain't no floor.
There's
right?
no floor. I have what they call a floor, with is just a piece of canvas that I'll fold in half. Like this weekend, I fold it in half and I just put my blankets on top of it. But and I have a YouTube video that's going up probably tomorrow, and you'll see I actually shoot inside my tent at 2 a.m. And you see when I wake up that I'm laying on one side, just all my crap's just stacked. My clothes are all just bundled up, and you can see the grass. But no, it's interesting too, because going back to what we were saying earlier about, you guys being closed and this being closed, here I am at a gun show, and you go inside and they say, hey, this property is owned by Vero Beach County, yada, yada, yada. They do have a mask ordinance, so please wear a mask to the best of your ability, and we'll leave it at that. And so 92%
Lots of noses hanging out, huh?
92% of the people had masks on. The rest of them said, fuck it. And, it was interesting because, we slept there Friday night. It rained. This is the first time I've been in an event where I've actually had to deal with rain, which is very lucky considering I'm in Florida. So I actually set my tent up in the rain, and it stopped raining long enough where we got naive enough to think we'd be able to start a fire. Then it started raining again. We finally got started around midnight. I went to bed at 2 a.m., woke up the next morning, but I'm basically, if everybody through that door would have purchased a firearm, they would have ran out of firearms the first day, because there was more people in line than there were probably firearms in the whole damn building. But because some of the prices and that,
I'm here for the bullets, man. I can't find fucking bullets anywhere. And yeah, you can find them, but if you want to pay 50 cents a fucking 9mm round,
I didn't look at the ammo prices, but I did see a couple people walking out with ammo can in each hand with 300 rounds in each box. So they clearly had them and they were affordable. But so it was a good time. I'm not going to go too much about it, but head over to YouTube tomorrow and I'll post up a video, and you can see all what happened. And it was a good time. The fun part is we're preparing, getting ideas for the event in December. And one of the guys runs a construction company, and he had his flash pot kit out there, if you will, and we were taking black powder and putting it in foil with wires, and turns out his interestingly enough, that day he went to shoot his Thompson and none of his blanks worked. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, they get wet? He's like, I don't know how they get wet. Well, he must have left them in his car with some high humidity, because when we first started making the flash pots, his black powder wasn't going off worth a shit either. So he actually, imagine that, we're at a gun store, gun show. So he just went inside and bought a whole new thing of black powder, and we made some new ones. They made a nice bang. But yeah, we're toying around with ways to add some special effects to the show in December, and so that was fun, getting to blow some black powder up. But it was a good time.
Excellent, man. That's
It was
good to hear.
Probably the longest drive I made in a Tundra, which is nice. Got the cruise control that's, it's intelligent. It slows down, adjusts its speed to the people in front of me. It does not have the lane assist that takes control of the steering wheel, which I don't mind so much. If I turn it on, it just beeps at me. But I got to thinking, with this intelligent cruise control, and if I did have the steering assist that physically kept me in a lane, there wouldn't be anything stopping me from dozing off for 20 minutes, because it's like having a semi-intelligent car that would drive itself.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. The Forester has actually what's called lane centering. So it is pretty much autopilot light. And it's great for road trips like up to Utah, because I barely have my hand on the wheel, and it'll follow the curves and everything. If you take your hand off the wheel for about after 5 seconds or so, it'll put your hand back on the wheel.
Yeah.
And I do like that. I could see people getting a little too used to that, though.
Yeah. I remember when I flew to Texas, I rented a Toyota RAV4, and it did it. And the first time it kicked on, I felt like I was hydroplaning, because you have no control over the wheel when it takes over. You feel like you're hydroplaning. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, we went to
Morgan Long, hey, send us a message. You missed out last week. Send us a message to get your free What's in Your Head podcast die cut sticker. And for fun, Martin, send me a private message with your address again, and I'll send you one so you can rep us up in New York.
There you go. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But yeah, that is, I think it's pretty much all I had on my list for now. Again, I think we're going to do the social dilemma more on the OG5 podcast. Let Don get into it, because it gets a little heady.
Yeah. So we're all familiar with Joe Rogan's podcast, right?
Yes.
And how he signed $100 million exclusivity contract with Spotify.
Correct.
And then he upped and moved to Texas. Mm-hmm. And of course, a lot of his fans are complaining that his podcast studio looks like the home of a new Star Trek Enterprise. And
he got out of California before he has to pay that escape tax.
Yeah, but his studio is nice, but it's got this red hue to it, so everybody looks like they're in a tanning bed.
Oh, that sucks.
Well, apparently, not so much Spotify doing it, but the employees who work at Spotify are getting a little butthurt. And now the employees of Spotify are trying to pressure the heads of Spotify to start censoring his show before they go live. They're trying to enforce him to, basically, he would submit his podcast, and before it gets put up on the network, they would go through and censor out the content that they don't like. One of the things that got him in trouble, which I don't know why it got him in trouble, let's see here. A group of Spotify staffers are now reportedly pushing to introduce direct editing and oversight over the Joe Rogan Experience before the episodes go live. That includes content flags, trigger warnings, reference to fact-checked information, or simply refusing to publish the episode at all. The demand follows a string of controversial comments made by Rogan, who was lured to Spotify. I love the editorializing in some of these stories. You can tell what side of the aisle they're on. Who were lured to Spotify in a massive
big old worm on that hook.
$100 million deal. Rogan's appeals to millions of listeners and his unfiltered and irreverent approach to the style isn't sitting well with active groups on Spotify staffers who say he needs to be reined in.
Boo.
Earlier this month, Digital Music News first reported that multiple podcast episodes were missing following the migration to Spotify's platform. That included controversial interviews with people like Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, because he's so controversial. Heaven forbid you have a homosexual right-wing guy. He just pisses people off. Gavin McNinnis, who I'm not familiar with, are also missing episodes featuring right-wing figures like Owen Benjamin, Stefan Mile, who I'm not familiar with, and Charles C. Johnson. Okay, so that's pretty much a straight forward write-up on it. Now listen to this one. Podcaster and comedian Joe Rogan has been receiving a lot of flack lately, possibly because of his new Spotify partnership. His more harmful and hateful guests have been omitted from the streaming platform.
Oh, fuck yourself.
This means Rogan's more questionable takes on guests are being spotlighted, and folks are realizing that there's plenty to feel dubious about. Rogan's own sharing of misinformation regarding Oregon wildfires, as well as his irresponsible attitude regarding coronavirus, only served to push this point home. Now fans of Rogan's are lashing out over what they feel is unwarranted censorship, while others are sitting back and enjoying the show. Joe Rogan has a notable history guest with harmful and hateful ideology viewpoints without challenging them with meaningful ways, because Rogan has granted these harmful ideologies a legitimate soapbox. Spotify has declined to pull relevant episodes. So once again, Spotify's not doing it, but their Gen Z employees are getting butthurt because they don't appreciate some of the contents in which his guests are talking about.
Tinfoil hat time.
And they're also saying that he was wrong, that it wasn't the Oregon fires weren't started by arsonists, which maybe that's true. I know the California fires
A couple
were.
of them were.
Yeah, but they're saying that was all lies, and he has come out and apologized for that, saying he fucked up. So
Here's the problem.
He did get his pee slapped, and he is coming out to
Yes, he
apologize.
Here's one of the issues I have. And it does tie into what you find out in the social dilemma, but I'm going to conspiracize here. Problem is, yeah, I get it. Facebook and all of them, they're private companies. There's an interesting take that, well, but the internet was actually developed with the U.S. taxpayer money. So, number one, how private is it? And I'm not done yet. With everything that can happen in the way that social media is set up, and how basically they can predict what you do, if they limit the speak that your freedom of speech, it's going to guide us more to that direction of that thinking.
I don't agree with, the deplatformization and this and that, but to take the argument back, remember when you would see these fake posts about how Facebook has decided that they can do whatever they want with your photographs, and you have to copy and paste this, and they don't, which is complete nonsense.
That's horseshit. Yeah.
I've said it once and I've said it again. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, they're all free platforms. They're free for you to use. But keep in mind that platform is nothing more than their own computer that they bought in a warehouse that they pay electricity for, using their internet and their backbone that they spend thousands of dollars a month on. So you're basically uploading your personal shit to someone else's computer and then getting butthurt that they may decide to take the content which you're giving them for free and do what they want with it, when they're paying to make that platform and all the money to make those servers run. And not just one, thousands of servers, probably hundreds of server farms, internet and all that. So, yes, it's in poor taste, but once again, you're taking your nonsense and putting it on someone else's computer. Don't be surprised when they feel like they might own some of that stuff.
So the only way to combat that really would be to find conservative-minded people to be able to create such a large and popular social platform that is all, as we know, this is all ad revenue generated, right?
Yeah.
We're being sold.
Or
that's what it is. We as people are being sold.
Or if there was a platform that basically charged you a reasonable nominal fee so that, okay, now it's not a free service. Now I'm paying to be here. Now, then hypothetically you would have more rights to, and, hypothetically you shouldn't be beat over the head so much because now it's no longer you're using their shit for free. So they got to be comped through advertising and all that. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different.
My biggest problem, though, is if you look, they are always fact-checking Trump. They're always fact-checking the right, but who's fact-checking the fact-checkers? Who's fact-checking the people on the left who says things?
Are you telling me the fine husband and wife couple who run Snopes isn't a believable source? I think they run that
It's
shit
the
out of their
fucking
house.
Onion, man.
Yeah.
That's all it is the Onion. So, that's what's driving me nuts is because people get their news from the social media, and it's obviously geared by people who have I'm just going to sound like a nut, a socialist style agenda. That
Well, the problem
I
is
think it's just going to guide the human race and our country towards a certain direction. Ultimately, I think that's part of the ultimate goal.
Well, I don't want to say problem. The truth is that, there are quote unquote conservative based platforms out there. You got Parler, which is a conservative TikTok.
And according
Twitter.
to Martin, it's farmersonly.com too.
It's Twitter. You have YouTube, which is the Utah Gun Exchange, which is probably the only real competitor to YouTube as far as that type of go. Which they're by no stretch of the imagination a competitor, but it is a place that is a very similar type platform where you can upload your videos for free and they not get censored. But
Yeah.
the thing is those platforms, those ideologies, they don't have the hip Hollywood, the musicians.
They don't have the reach.
They don't have all the people who basically, we live in a society that because a certain demographic has expendable income and tend to waste their money on dumb shit, and we live in a consumer-based society, all of our stuff is aimed towards those people. And that's why, as Adam Carolla famously says, you go into a sports bar in the middle of the day where you got 5 50-year-old dudes sitting around and they're playing music that's aimed for 13-year-old girls. Because our whole market is based going after that demographic.
Yep.
Speaking of which,
Absolutely.
there's a radio station here in town.
Okay. More than one or just one radio station?
Well, now there's only one rock radio station, which I don't mind because the radio station that flipped the script recently, back in the day when I worked at another radio station, the company changed the format of a station. And so another station in town basically started the same exact station that same day. They just had to change the number in the name, but they had the same font, same color. They actually went as far as tracking down old DJs that used to work at the radio station like 3 or 4 years ago, hiring them
like
back.
a clone station, right?
Well, they basically were trying to convince their audience that it was the same station. They just moved to a different dial. It's a different company, different PD and all that.
That old gag.
Well, and it went, and when we'd have all these concerts, they would show up, and it was kind of a radio battle thing. Well, as we know, because of platforms like Pandora, podcast, and this and that, and XM, there's many a different ways to get your content, whatever it may be. If you're into music, comedy, podcast, whatever, there's many ways. And so radio listening is down. You have to admit it. Just like TV viewing's down. That's why that's why NBC just launched Peacock, right? Because they need a way to compete with streaming services. So now you can stream all your favorite NBC-owned shows on Peacock at any time instead of waiting to watch it live.
Hey, do you know who owns Pluto TV?
No.
Viacom.
Which is CBS. So there you go.
Exactly.
Which makes sense. That's why they used to have What's-His-Nose be their mouthpiece when it first came out. Who's the guy from Arrested Development? Anyhow.
I don't know. I don't watch that show.
Well, it was a show for a long time. Will Arnett was their mouthpiece when they first came out. But anyhow, back to this station just switched formats to country, which already have 3 country stations. But you know what the name of their radio station is?
I think you told me, but let's surprise the audience.
Trump Country.
Oh, fuck.
Now, we already know that this particular station has a history of just doing whatever it takes to get listeners. By no means is this a permanent move. We're 38 days away from the election. I can guarantee you that after the election's over, whether he wins or not, this is just a placeholder name and probably even a placeholder format. I doubt there's really no reason for them to stay country. There's already 4 other country stations in this town, and the sure shit ain't going to, for long term, stay Trump Country. So it'll be interesting to see what they change their name to after the election's over. Like I said, even if Trump wins, they're not going to stay Trump Country. There's no reason. Who's going to have a radio station named after a sitting president? So it's clearly just a grasp to get some attention and get some people, tuning in. And it's real bad too because it's a robo station right now, which also goes to prove that it's just a placeholder. And
So no on-air talent, just a computer that spits out the music.
no, just some really bad pre-recording of somebody doing a horrible Trump impression. I'm going to give you this wonderful phone number to call to let us know what you think of. And, it's just somebody doing a horrible Trump impression, and but that's what it's called, the Trump country now.
Hey, intern of the week, I need you over here.
It's
I need you to do an impression of Donald Trump. Let me hear it.
Really? That's your all's grasp at trying to get some listenership?
Wow.
Yeah, but anyway. Do you know what a pen setter is?
Yeah, are we talking about the machine that sets bowling pins?
Yes. How many times have you gone bowling? A handful?
What's that?
How many times have you personally gone bowling?
Probably less than 30 times.
How often have you ever been
That's a
invited
stretch.
behind the bowling lane to access the pin setter? Never?
Big fat zilch.
I guess there may be
Never.
one or two
Thinking
bowling alleys
back there.
in the nation where they have a manual pin setter, kind of a throwback to the old days. I'm not sure if this is where he was. Cake Boss star Buddy impales hand in terrible bowling accident. Now, when I first read the headline, I instantly thought to poor Roy Munson, who had his hand cut off on Kingpin by having it shoved down the ball return by some unhappy people after he bull sharked him in that movie. You ever seen Kingpin? Bill Murray, Woody
No, but
Harrelson?
I just for some reason thought of Bricktop feeding people to pigs.
Yeah, that's a good movie too.
But no, I haven't seen that.
I can't believe I've never seen Kingpin, but anyhow. The Food Network star's hand was impaled after getting it stuck in the bowling pin setter, as a representative of his company confirmed with Fox News on Wednesday as he underwent surgery earlier this week. A malfunction with the pin setter, which has been an easy fix in the past, makes me wonder if it was at his own bowling alley. It has to be, right? You think he has his own bowling alley in the basement?
Probably got a bowling alley in his basement. Yeah.
Because by the fact of saying a
It's gotta
malfunction
be.
with the pin setter, which has been easily fixed in the past, caused his hand to become lodged and sorry, I just got an advertisement, bumped my paragraph down. Had been lodged and compressed inside the machine, a spokesperson said. Unable to remove his hand, he can see a 1.5 inch metal rod slowly and repeatedly impale his hand 3 times between his ring finger and his middle finger, the spokesperson said. So I'm assuming he must have his own personal bowling alley, and this thing's been malfunctioning, and I guess maybe his Food Network money hasn't been that great lately, and he couldn't afford the repair on it. But that would suck to have an 1.5 inch in diameter rod stab your fucking hand 3 times.
According to Morgan Long says he heard that it was at his family's alley.
Well, there you go.
So that would tie it all together.
He was rushed to the Morristown Memorial in New Jersey for emergency surgery on Sunday to remove the impaled rod that stabilized the wound. So basically, I guess it stopped, and as they're apt to do when one is impaled, the EMTs or the fire company just lopped it off so that you don't remove it and bleed out. The removed impaled rod, which stabilized the wound, according to a spokesperson. Another emergency surgery was performed by Dr. Who Gives a Fuck, and a renowned orthopedic surgeon at the Hospital of Specialty Surgery in Manhattan. Meanwhile, the 43-year-old posted a photo of his surgery on social media. I was involved in a terrible accident a few days ago, he wrote. And what do you think of my new accessory? And it has his hand all wrapped up in a cast.
Paging Doctor Who Gives a Fuck.
Yeah,
Paging
right.
Doctor Who Gives a Fuck. We have a pin setter accident.
That just... Of course, I'm the dick I am when I posted that story. I posted the Roy Munson character underneath in the comment. But yeah. Oh, hey, real quick. Comcast. I was right.
You're right.
When I tell you, or your
I'm listening.
representative, that I am an IT guy and I've been doing this since 2004, and you still think I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I was right. As you guys recall, for the last, 2 months, I can't access our website from my home.
Yes.
And so I have to upload the podcast using my cellular phone. Kind of people like newscasters when they call it crack cocaine. No one calls it crack cocaine, it's coke, okay? But anyhow, or marijuana. But long story short, after like 4 or 5 different phone calls, I finally got them to send me a new modem. Because every time they'd reset my modem, it'd go into bridge mode, which we talked about a few episodes back. Long story short, I got my new equipment. I hooked it up, and mysteriously, miraculously, my website is now available from my home. So even though
Meant
it
to say
took
short story
multiple
long.
calls, multiple arguing with people that it was in fact bad equipment. And by the way, with COVID, they're another one of these companies who use that as a reason not to do any fucking work. Like when I went to Wendy's
Sorry,
today,
due
their
to
dining
COVID.
room's still closed down because they don't want to pay employees to clean the damn dining room, so you have to do pickup. Whereas you can go down to Burger King and their dining room's open to half, occupancy.
Dear asshole customer, due to COVID-19, your order may not be processed in a timely manner which you expect.
Oh, you call any of these places now due to COVID-19 restrictions, our calls. It's like for the last 10 years, every time you call one of these places, we are experiencing unexpectedly high call volume. Really? It's like that every day. The other thing I like, which is fun with Comcast, which most of y'all don't know about, because if you do call them, you only call them once a fucking year.
Come on, just send me to Crystal's house out in her trailer in fucking Arkansas.
Here's
That's where it's going to go anyway.
If you don't believe me, call 1-800-COMCAST and call them up right in the automated system. Please let me check on your modem, and you'll hear some fake typing because it's recording. And every time it says, based on errors in your modem, we see that you need to reboot your modem. It's just a boilerplate recording. They didn't check no error logs on your modem because once again you could reboot the damn thing and then call them due to the errors on your modem and its uptime longevity. And so they just have this whole hamster wheel of nonsense that they run you through before. And by the way, if you don't do the automated system reboot, they will try to hang up on you, and you have to start screaming agent before they'll actually put. So the automated system will do the fake typing. It'll suggest that you do a modem reboot, and then if you call back and it hasn't been 10 minutes, they won't let you through. So they literally have this whole.
Oh, what a fucking piece of shit company!
And so basically,
I can say that I don't have Comcast. We got,
and they're not
Cox.
sponsoring us either. And so they say, "Are you willing to do the modem reset now?" You're like, "No." Okay, well, when you decide to, please, and you're screaming, agent.
Are you willing to send me to a fucking representative?
And so you start pounding zero. They'll finally, but the voice automation will tell you to go and hang up. But if you just start screaming agent or hit one, they will finally forward you. But yeah, it's so
zero
funny.
doesn't get you nowhere, huh?
So if you do the modem reset and then call them right back, they'll be like, we see you recently went under a modem reset. We will.
Yeah, no shit.
It's been less than 10 minutes, so please call us back. It's such a nonsense. And then when you do finally get on a job, okay, before I can schedule a technician come out, first has anybody at that particular location have come down with COVID in the last 2 weeks? No. If the agent comes out, will they be able to work in isolation in an area within 10 feet away from anybody else? They have this whole checklist of basically things they're trying to get you to say no to so that their agent don't have to come out.
Due to COVID, our tech will be there between 7 a.m. Monday and 9 p.m. Friday.
Yeah, TJ Bone just said a lot of people who are hiding behind COVID. Hell, my mom had to wait out in the freaking parking lot to get the medical treatment, even with the negative COVID test. Yeah, it's insane. I told you when I took my daughter to the dentist.
Yes.
There's only 3 medical places in the building, and they're all on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor. The first floor is a lobby. You can go in there. You have to get your temperature taken at the security desk. And then you get in the elevator and go up to the dentist office, and you have to take... I say, oh, so yeah, because I got COVID from the front counter, I just had my temperature taken 3.5 seconds ago. And it's like, why do...
Well, and that's the whole thing. It's just such an inconsistency with the mask thing. Okay, you're okay if you're eating. You're okay if you're in a pool, a public pool. But you have to walk from, like Wet n Wild, just down the street from me. You got to walk from your seating area to the pool with the mask on. Then you take your mask off when you're in the pool.
But where do you put the...
that was my question.
Where do you put the mask while you're in the pool? In your
if you got board
pocket?
shorts, you got that. But
So when you get out of the pool...
Chicks are going to shove them in their tops.
No, but when you get out of the pool and you pull said mask from your pocket that's wet, you're basically waterboarding yourself as you're walking around.
Exactly.
Here, suck on this wet washcloth as you're walking from your pool back to your... It's so dumb. Here's my thing. I've noticed too. Here's the thing I noticed. Here's the game I'm playing. Go to the gas station. If it says, please wear a mask, I don't wear a mask. If I go to a store that says mask are required, then I'll wear a mask. Because obviously the lawyers have gotten involved. If it says, please wear a mask, that means, hey, we don't give a shit, but we want to keep the city off our back. I actually saw one place says masks are suggested but not required. That's them saying, hey, we don't believe in this shit either, but we got to keep the city off our back. So if you actually look, you'll see some signs say, please wear a mask, and then some straight up say masks are required to enter the property. And so if it says masks are required, I'll play the game. If it says please wear a mask, then I don't. It's just nuts. I mean, the whole thing is just crazy. If everybody had the same policies, then we would know that those policies are mandated by health department. But the fact that everybody has their own made up shit just means that, they're all just flying by the seat of their pants, and there's no actual science behind it. Because if there was true science, then the health department would get involved, and they would all have the exact same. Regardless if you go to Burger King, McDonald's, Publix, Walmart, 7-Eleven, or BP, they would all have the same exact procedures, the same policies. But the fact that it's all ad hoc, fly by the seat, whatever piece of plexiglass, Lexan, or freaking saran wrap they have available in the back to hang up in front of their registers. It's just all nonsense.
Well, and that's what the problem with science is. It's science. It's going to contradict itself. We'll get the answer for this in about 10 years.
Yeah, right?
Because they'll go back and forth. I've seen good science that says, yeah, they do work for, protecting other people. But I've also seen science that shows that it's kind of questionable. Now it's all just kind of blowing out the back of your head, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
News and shit. News and shit. Now here's Gordon with some news and shit.
Joining us now from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Gordon, how you doing tonight, friend?
I'm doing good. I think I may start out in Romania tonight.
Can I interrupt you before we get too late and I forget?
Sure.
This episode of the What's in Your Head podcast is brought to you by our friends at Computers. Computers has been providing IT solutions for all of Southwest Florida since 2004. Whether you need online backup, two-form authentication, server rollout, network expansion, computer repair, laptop repair, tablet repair, whatever it may be, give them a call at 239-283-1120 or head over to act-capecoral.com. And as always, if you don't live in the city of Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Naples, Bonita Springs, what have you, they can still help you via the internet, as long as your internet works, of course. Give them a call at 239-283-1120. They will walk you through a simple remote connection. They can help you with all of your computer needs. And while you're on the internet, head over to what'sinyourhead.com, and you can get yourself a What's in Your Head podcast t-shirt and use the promo code ILISTEN, all capital letters, and that'll basically give you free shipping and handling. And while you're there, too, click on that big, beautiful orange Patreon link and get you... for $1 a month, you can get all the free stickers and free access to like the OG5 podcast, which Gordon and I are going to do in a few days, so we can talk about some stuff we don't want the rest of y'all to know. That's where we get real close and personal, you know what I mean? And every once in a while, I'll put some video content up there as well. So if you want to support the show, please head over to d-410.com or What's in Your Head podcast. That's what's the letter N, the word your head podcast.com. And actually, what'sinyourhead.com, and click on the Patreon link and check out our merch. And as we've been threatening to do for a while, you can buy stickers now. There is a link for the die-cut stickers. It is a basic link brought to you by our friends at PayPal. They don't give me color selection. I was hoping they'd just let me put up a color wheel and you can choose the color. So here's the deal. Buy your sticker. The default color is white. Send me an email with your confirmation code. Tell me, hey, I want it blue, I want it black, I want it champagne, I want it fluorescent pink. Whatever color you want, I'll get the vinyl. If for some reason I can't find that color, I'll contact you back. But anyhow, I will make the sticker to your color request. So it'll match whatever it is you want to put it on or near. So I'll do all that at what'sinyourhead.com or d-410.com. Thank you, Gordon.
Romania Village. Well, they re-elected their mayor.
Their mayor?
Their mayor. Unfortunately, he had died of COVID-19. How
bad was the person running against him that no one wanted to vote for him?
That is what we'll see if it even says. After handing Ion Alaman victory in the election for their local mayor, residents of a small village in southern Romania went to his grave to light candles for him. You won. You're getting a candle. Alaman was reelected in a landslide for an unprecedented third term as the mayor of the village of Devashul, despite having died from COVID-19 complications 10 days prior to the country's municipal elections.
So what is their local policy for when a mayor dies? The co-mayor becomes seat? So they don't want us to honor his memory? I mean, because clearly they got to have a mayor. They're not going to have full anarchy in their town. Sorry, I asked.
I did not get that far into the story yet. But anyway, yeah. So needless to say, they did. He did win. The village is only like just over 3,000 people, and he was obviously a very popular incumbent who had just celebrated his 57th birthday on election day,
Wow.
or would have. I guess he celebrated it from the grave.
What was that town in
fuck.
Columbus that was like 2 blocks wide and it was a speed trap out on the west side? New something or other.
New Rome.
New Rome. That was known as a Columbus speed trap. Basically, it was literally like a mile and a half wide by 4 miles deep.
If you're going from the west side of Columbus to Hilliard,
Yeah.
watch out for New Rome.
I think about 4 or 5 years ago, they got disbanded. I think the state of Ohio or the city of Columbus proper said, this is nonsense. You guys only have enough, there's no reason to be a incorporated city. You guys are just raising money by speed traps. They finally got disbanded, I believe. I think now they're just like a village of New Rome. I think they're no longer a official city.
What's so bad about this? They're saying that one of the local TV stations, Digi24, that sounds nice and modern, said none of the other contenders got the same amount of trust from the voters. Asked if he voted for Aliman, DeBoer said, I sure did. The election victory in Deshavu was a bit of sweet news, but only a little comfort for the PSD and partial preliminary status shown Monday, as they had lost the most closely watched contest, for the mayor. Sorry.
New Rome is an unincorporated community in the eastern Prairie Township of Franklin County, Ohio, United States, located on the west side of Columbus, Ohio metropolitan area. It was originally incorporated as a village in 1947, occupying little more than 3-block stretch of West Broad Street, and was dissolved in 2004. And right now, I think...
And we will not pour a beer out.
This is a town that has made up of 11 acres. And somehow in 1947, I guess they got, they had these delusions of grandeur. They just came home from the war, like, hey, we're going to turn this into something. Nope. 11 acres of land, and you're a city, and the only thing you were known for statewide is just being a huge speed trap. If you went over like half a mile an hour, you'd get like a huge speeding ticket.
It's kind of like Rabbit Hash, Kentucky. Don't they have like a population of 1?
Yeah, their dog's the mayor.
Their dog's the mayor.
Yeah, the dog at the local store is the mayor.
That's such a cool little spot, though.
Yep.
All right. So
Funny,
talking about
sorry, not to beat every town, but right here I'm just looking. New Rome, Ohio, speed traps. It's listed on speedtraps.org.
So as I was talking about the shenanigans going on down on the Strip, we did have a shooting last night, and the police had identified a 19-year-old taken into custody after the shooting on the Las Vegas Strip,
Yep.
which critically injured a man. And guess where they arrested this guy? Just guess.
Titty bar.
Through the course of the investigation, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police detectives had identified a suspect vehicle which was located by the California Highway Patrol near Baker, California. So he may have been another Cali guy. How do you get that illegal gun in California? It said they stopped the vehicle, took the 19-year-old Christian Miller into custody. Miller is currently being held in California awaiting extradition. So basically what happened, they said that there was a man was involved in an altercation with a group between 5 and 10 men. And that's the problem. It's large groups of people that are getting into these kerfuffles, these Donnybrooks.
Yep.
On the sidewalk when a man in the group pulled out a handgun and shot a man in the chest. The man was taken to the hospital in critical conditions. They said at that point, the group of men ran north and east from the Strip. And then obviously they located the suspect shooter in California. And that's just crazy crap. But what's also interesting going on in Vegas, and I am sorry for the Vegas-centric news today, is there's been some testing, and a drone carries human kidney over Las Vegas desert and what could be the future of organ transportation.
Yeah, it's cheaper than, Jet A fuel, and it gets you through traffic quicker.
Helicopters. So,
Legalaffairs.org. The fall of New Rome. Ohio motorists mourn a town that tickets once built. Carrying a homemade coffin on their shoulder, 4 mourners marched from the parking lot of a shuttered grocery store in Central Ohio to a pair of empty metal posts. These pallbearers and another 2 dozen sympathizers have gathered to pay their respects to not to the man who built the town. Many of them wore T-shirts emblazoned the tombstone of to mark the moment. We here lay to rest the remains of New Rome. These posts once held the sign announcing the western entrance to New Rome, a patch of highway 2/10 of a mile long, 10 miles west of Columbus, crammed with...
Wait, 2/10 of a mile?
Long. That's how the whole town was made.
That's where you could post one car there and it'd take up almost the whole...
So for those of you wondering why keep this in mind, 2/10 of a mile long, okay? But thousands of motorists found themselves slapped with tickets that generated upwards of $400,000 a year. This place, they should
have had the Taj Mahal of city halls.
You could run this. This town's not even big enough to have its own 5K. I mean, you could run through the town in like probably a minute.
2 seconds.
Yeah, like 38 seconds. Yet the cops were so good that they were able to raise $400,000 a year through ticket revenues.
So what was a cop's salary then? Like,
but thousands of motorists found themselves slapped with tickets that generated up to $400,000 in revenues for the village each year. In 2001, Busey was given a $103 ticket for driving 7 miles an hour over the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, or 3 miles.
At least he didn't do something fucked up like 34 miles an hour,
or 3 miles below the 45 limit that thought he was supposed to observe. Busey fought the ticket, arguing that the sign hung below the legal standards of 6 feet above the ground. He lost and was steamed enough to create a website dedicated to the ending of New Rome. But yeah, now the funny thing is I've been down here since 2004, right. And I remember when New Rome got disbanded, that because it was such a shyster, they actually did the story in the local on the local radio station down here. But imagine a town that's 2/10 of a mile wide pulled over enough people to generate $400,000 a year, and this is going on since like 1947. That was like basically a family's way of just not working.
That's a generated revenue for one family.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Hey, let's get a cop car from the auto auction, buy a couple of revolvers, slap a sticker on the side. Let's just sit there and just give people $100 tickets for going 3 miles over the speed limit.
So according to TJ, when I did loss prevention, I called the sheriff for a shoplifter in New Rome. Cop came. And then I told him I called for a cop that was not a ticket writer.
Yep.
Yeah, what are you going to do, dude? Write him a ticket? Anyway, so back to the story at hand. You know how drones they're pushing like Amazon to start delivering packages.
Yeah, it's insane.
Search and rescue and.
I mean,
yeah.
I can understand that if you live in like Alaska or someplace, but that place would be so wide that it wouldn't be worth it to Amazon to do so. But could you imagine living in a congested area like in New York, or Chicago, or Las Vegas, or L.A.? The whole skies would just be a black fucking blob of...
Jesus Christ, these flies are bad this year.
Have you seen that video from like over in Sweden?
Mm-mm.
It's like a blimp over a lake, and all these little drones coming out of it. It must look like goddamn...
like in a World
Independence
War I
Day.
Hindenburg with...
yeah, and they got a bunch of drones coming out of it. Yeah, it's crazy. I'll post it on our Facebook page. You can look after it after the show. What's your next story?
No, so anyway, well, that's the one I'm trying to talk about.
Go ahead.
So basically getting ready to add one more to the growing list, human organ transit. Researchers at Mission Go, that's an awesome name, actually, Mission Go, provider of unmanned aviation solutions, and the Nevada Donor Network, Organ Procurement Organization. Basically, what they've done is they've done 2 successful flights carrying just research kidneys and organs from one location to another, and there's been no degradation in any of the tissues. I actually think that's probably the way to go. I am for that, not necessarily the Amazon packages, because
no, absolutely.
you know those motherfuckers are going to crash.
You know, like, well, not only that, people are going to start shooting them down. Hey, I wonder if there's an Xbox in there.
Yeah, right.
But no, that's definitely a great way.
All abiding criminals that'll shoot them down.
You know, that's definitely a great way to transfer super time-sensitive things like that. You don't got to worry about traffic. It's a lot cheaper than a helicopter or a plane.
And that is all I have for the news this evening.
well, head on over to the Facebook page, Gordon, and you can see that crazy video of the blimp. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. I know, once again, we're always pulling, little last-minute fiascos because we got things going on. But thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode. And as always, head over to d-410.com, click on the social media link, and it'll take you to Gordon's Twitter page and all my Facebook pages and all that good stuff. You see the video, Gordon?
Yeah, not yet.
No. Anyhow, thank you guys so much. And remember, if you don't ever get out of your comfort space, you'll never get out of bed. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you all next week.
This has been a Digital 410 production.